Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here to talk about 911 on Fox.
911, what's your emergency?
Season 3, Episode 2, and so the action picks up where it left off at the end of Episode 1 of the season premiere. And so I must say, they kind of shifted how 911 is going. I don't know if this is going to continue through the season. So tonight is episode 3 and part 3 of the season opener. And so I want to catch you guys up real quick if you missed it, or if you just want to talk about it. So you guys know from episode 1 that Buck had a blood clot. He thought he was getting ready to come back to work, but then they had to put him on desk duty because of this blood clot. He was throwing up blood and everything. And so he's kind of like feeling down, feeling hopeless. And Eddie put him in charge of Christopher, who's Eddie's son. And he took Eddie down to the pier, and they have like a carnival at the pier. And so when episode 1 ended, there was a tsunami coming towards the pier, and everybody was starting to run away. So we pick up in episode 2 with that same scene where people are realizing what's going on. The water has like engulfed the pier that went out and is now coming towards the beach area. And I mean, it was some huge waves. And so Buck and Christopher, they end up seeking refuge in like a carnival booth where they had games or something going on, but they get separated by the rush of water. And then Buck finds Christopher, and he was holding on to a pole. And then Buck saves him, gets him. And there was so remember when episode 1 was coming towards an end, Buck and Christopher were playing this game, and this man went into cardiac arrest or something. And Buck was like, should I go? Should I stay? Should I go? Should I stay? But then the paramedics showed up and they started treating the man. So they end up, Buck and Christopher, and then some other people that Buck was able to rescue, they end up on top of the fire engine. And Buck, being who he is naturally, he's trying to help other people. So the first responders, that were already there working on that guy, I guess they left the guy because then there was a scene of all the people running, and the first responders was in the group of people that were running. So then we had a scene with Athena, and Athena and her daughter May, they were having a spa day, and they were talking about college and things mother-daughter talk. And so the daughter's stressed out over her SATs, and she would rather be home studying than having this spa day with her mom. So when they were leaving the spa and on their way home, they get hit by a car because they're like engrossed in this conversation, and then all of a sudden there's this crash. So we're thinking, okay, Athena wasn't paying attention, then got them in a car accident. So she gets out and she starts looking around, and it's like a 20 to 30 car pileup, and it was like the cars were in all directions coming at each other. And so they call 911, but they get put on hold because they don't know anything about the tsunami and all these crazy things that are happening around the city. And so, of course, Athena goes into rescue mode, and she's trying to help people out. And so they realize that there is a down transformer, and so electricity is running through the streets. So Athena is telling people, get back, get back. There's a power line down. Stay away from the power line. Then we go over to Maddie, and she is, working the 911 desk when she gets a call from a guy named Jonas. So Jonas is in the attic of his house, and water is filling up in the attic, and it's like up to here on him. And so him and Maddie are talking. Maddie's trying to help him out. She's asking him, see if you can find something. So he finds an axe, and he's like trying to chop the walls down, trying to break a window. It was like a little small window. Not sure he would have even been able to get through the window, but he can't break it. And then it finally dawns on him like he's going to die because this water is rising, and he's trying to figure out why is the water coming up? Like I'm in the attic and the water is almost, and it was like one of those steep roofs, and he was like to the top of the steep part. And so he starts talking to Maddie, and she's trying to calm him down. And so he starts telling her a story about him and some of his friends went to the summit and how beautiful it was. And then, you know that he knows he's going to die. And so he's crying, she's crying, and then all of a sudden the phone goes dead because he's totally engulfed in water. So they go back to the scene with Buck, and so Buck rescues a woman. Buck is always doing these MacGyver type things. So he takes the hose from the fire truck and stretches it across the street and ties it to something, and then he's able to, shimmy his way down to the woman and get her back on the truck. So back with Maddie, worked at the 911 office. And so basically the operators are all like in shock. They don't understand what's going on. And so I guess Maddie is there to counsel them and let them know that everything's going to be okay. They've got to be strong, make sure nobody's having a nervous breakdown or anything from all these crazy calls that they're getting. Then we go and we have the first responders, and they're assessing the scene, searching for survivors. We have the regular crew with Henrietta, Bobby, Chimney, Eddie. They're all there, and they're on these rafts, these motorized rafts, and they're going, not rafts, but the inflatable boats. And so they're going through the water, going through the streets, trying to rescue people. And when all of a sudden a woman starts screaming, and so we learned that I think it was her husband and her son, they're on a boat, but they've been impaled. And so the older gentleman was on the floor, and then the younger one was on top of him, but I think they were face to face. But there was this pole, I guess they had gotten thrown by the impact of the water coming and tossed around. And so now this pole is going through the both of them. And what they end up doing is they take a gas powered saw, and they're able to lift the younger guy up, cut the pole, get him off the boat. But then they're looking at the older guy, and they're like, if we just lift him up off the pole, he's going to bleed to death. So they have to, when people get impaled, they have to get them to the hospital with the item, like whatever is impaled them, still intact so that they don't lose any blood. So the only way that they can get him out is to go underneath the boat, but there's water, and the water is still rising. So I believe it was Eddie that went down there and was able to cut the man loose, cut the pole from underneath him. So they get him out. So then we go back over to Athena, and Athena's still at the car crash, and so she's helping people escape their cars. They find this lady, and she's in her van, but she has like her neck is severed, okay? But Athena's telling her to hold on. She's holding her neck. They're putting, something, compress it together and everything. So Athena, she still needs to help other people. They got the transformer still down. So she calls May to get out of their car and to come over and hold the compression on the woman's neck. So of course now May is in shock. And I didn't sign up for this. I should have been home studying for the SAT. But then she, does what her mother says. She gets in the van. She's trying to talk to the lady, and she finds out that the lady's name is Nikki. And so she asks May if it's true that there was a tsunami. And of course, May has no idea what's going on. And so May is freaking out, but then she knows she has to stay calm to keep Nikki calm. And then the scene goes away from them, and when it comes back, it looks like Nikki has died, and then May is freaking out and everything. And then we have a scene where there was a guy that Athena had been talking to, and so he's on the phone with his company, and he's talking, like they never shut off. It's always business mode, no matter what's going on. So by now there's sewage that's coming up into the street. And so he's just on the phone running his mouth, and he steps down into the street. And remember, the power line was down, so now there's electricity running through the water, and he is electrocuted. And I'm just like, this show, I was on 10 the entire time I was watching this show, like, my God, what's going to happen next? So Athena's able to get in touch with the power company and get them to come and turn the power off to this transformer. So she gets over to the car, and May, she's distraught and everything because she thinks that Nikki is dead. But then the paramedics get there, they get Nikki out of the car, and then they realize that she's still alive and that they may be able to save her. But of course, at this point, May is traumatized, and she's telling her mother, like, I know you do what you do because you love what you do, but there is no way in the world that I could do this for a living. Then we go back to Maddie, and Maddie suggested that they start routing people to the VA hospital because the hospitals are overflowing. They have all these people that's been impacted, all these people that were down at the pier, people from car accidents. Like, they have got to find other ways to do triage and tend to these people. So her boss comes back and tells her that she talked to the VA, that they were open to the suggestion, that they were going to, start receiving people. And then right as Maddie was getting excited, like, great, I'm glad that they thought it was a good idea, the boss tells her, oh, by the way, can you go and order 5,000 body bags and have them sent over to the VA? So Maddie realizes that this thing is bigger than any of them could have imagined, and that the VA was going to be receiving the bodies that were going to be uncovered as this thing goes on. Then, as people are being rescued and you think everything is about to subside, the water's going down, an alarm goes off, and they realize that there's going to be a second surge, so the water is going to retreat back out into the ocean, but then it's going to be a second surge that's going to bring another, tsunami on land. So while they're trying to pull some people onto the fire engine, the force of the water moving back out to sea pulls Christopher off the fire engine, and he's washed away. And I was done at that point. I was just like, hey, y'all gonna do this to this little boy? So we don't know where Christopher is, y'all. And Part 3 comes on tonight. Will you guys be watching? Do you like this turn of events that they're doing on 911? Or do you want them to go back to where there's just like 3 or 4 calls per episode and they're totally unrelated calls? Let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. Rate the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.